So, can we all actually just come up here and kind of sit up here, up front? I don't like this, it's too impersonal for me. Guys, you can sit on the floor. I'm going to grab a seat right here.
I sit right there.
Yeah. Come on. You in the back, come up. So how do you guys like STEM camp so far? It's amazing. It's good. You like it? Had more thumbs. There'd be more thumbs up. So, you guys like science? Technology? Yeah. What do you like about technology? Phones. Right? Space. Video games. What about math? Who likes math? This is a first. Usually everybody goes, no, I hate math. It's hard. What about art? You guys like art?
I like art.
Well, I like all those too. However, I'm briefly going to put together a presentation for you guys about some of the projects that I've been into, how I use all of those science, technology, engineering, math, art. And it occurred to me that that would just be me telling you some really cool things that I got into. And some of you may be into it, and some of you may not be. And then the other ones would be bored on their cell phone. Right? So I thought I'd talk to you something a little bit different. And that's identity. It's something that all of you are trying to experience right now. I've been in this exact auditorium in your exact case. And the one thing I really wish I had at that time was someone to be personal with me, the challenges, the struggles, how they got into it, a story, not all the complex science stuff that sometimes people are overwhelmed with. So my name is Andrew Trexler. Graduate. Thank you, Ken. Thank you. I graduated here in 2000. My school was starting to be remodeled at that time. After graduating, I went into the military. The Marine Corps. There, had odds and ends jobs throughout my entire life. One thing that always remained constant is the love of science. Not only a love, but an identity. That is how I identify myself as someone or science. It all started really when I was about 6th, 7th grade. You guys ever go to the Carnegie Science Museum? Anybody here's your hand? It's a fascinating place. It really is. And when I was at the Carnegie Science Museum, you know, they have giant dinosaur bones that are everywhere. There are crystalline structures, how sedimentary rocks form, all these amazing things. And then there was this presentation, and they showed us what's from an electron microscope, a really powerful microscope that allows us to see really fine, small detail. And they showed us bacteria moving. And I thought it was a magic trick. I didn't think it was real. And I didn't think it was real so much that I needed to find out if it was real. And so the entire year, I had constantly asked my parents, "Hey, Christmas, you know, I really wish I could get a microscope. My birthday, I really want a microscope. I want to see this thing happen, but I have to be small to do it. If anybody else will do it, well, then it's still a magic trick to do. It's the only way I can prove to myself that it exists." and 6 sisters. Yeah, I can match a shirt and tie by the combo without buying the combo for 100 years. It's pretty impressive. And so we really didn't have that kind of disposable income. Apparently, I had asked so much that all my aunts and my uncles got together and they got me this microscope. And it was awesome. I had no idea how to use it. There wasn't, but we didn't have that at that point in time. And directions were really cool. And I'm a guy, so I don't try to right? We can figure it out. And so I started shoving absolutely everything I could under this microscope. I don't even know if it was working correctly. I clipped my own toenails and put it under this microscope. I put moldy pieces of lettuce from the garbage can under this microscope. I cut pieces of paper. All I wanted to do is this thing, this bacteria, whatever it was, moving. I needed to know if it was real. Kind of like an obsession almost. It took me a lot of months, and then it finally happened. It finally happened. And for me, that was a really defining moment. You guys ever experienced clarity? Right? Like a lot of the times, things just, mom's yelling at me to get my homework, I want to go do this with my friends, so it's never like there's this quiet moment. Well, that quiet moment happened for me. And it had such a profound impact that I started to kind of grasp the understanding of infinity. It's kind of weird, right? Anybody know what the word infinite means? Yeah, no. Forever? Without limit? So when we talk about space, we talk about space being infinitely large, right?
Yeah.
It goes on forever. Do you know that the world is infinitely small as well? The smaller we go down, the more and more we find. It's pretty weird. Did you know that infinity goes in every single direction? What do I mean by that? Who's done fractions so far, man? All right, everybody, good. Take 1 and divide it by 2 until you hit 0. Never. It will go on forever. You can get really, really close, but you'll never actually hit 0. It's pretty mind-blowing. You can sit your entire lives and just count fractions and never reach the end. And I guess for me, there's clarity in that, is that there's truth, there is real, there is tangible, there is touchable, and then there's everything else. And that I know that as long as I use or kind of like understand science a little bit, I'll be able to have true and false in my life. That's pretty cool. I didn't even realize it, but that entire time I was actually participating in science. Just trying to figure out if science was real. And I started to change the way I asked questions, too. Right? I started asking, how does this work? Why does this work this way? Not just with physical things like your water bottle, right? How's the water stay in there? How can you find out? Experiment. Add stuff together. Go back. Yeah. What's that? Google it. I like that answer. Yeah. Gravity. All of those play a part. But then I started asking questions about people, us. Right? Like, why does everybody experience the same things I'm experiencing? All right, 2 planets. Right? 2 planets are forever separated. Gravitational pull, we have magnetic fields that prevent them from ever touching but keep them trapped. 2 dust particles have the same effect on one another. What's that? That's serious. They do. And so I never really got into science that much. I just started using the scientific method, per se, trying to find true false. And after the Marine Corps, I actually started a position at a restaurant as a dishwasher. I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. It's kind of a weird thing to think about, but I have to pick something. So I just did what I do usually. And I started to learn more about the restaurant. And I started asking more questions about how people work. And then I started to ask questions something about getting a restaurant. Trust me, everybody thinks you're a crazy person when you're using the scientific method in a restaurant, especially when you're dishwasher. They don't expect that. And I ended up creating an inventory system, shelf system, and saving the company money. Just from the simple scientific method. So how this worked was every week, twice a week, you go in and you count all the stuff that would be there to make sure it's there. You know how much to order, right? You go into the, I know you guys don't really do grocery shopping, but if your cereal's missing, you're asking questions, right? Well, that restaurant had cereal and it had questions. And so I figured out a way to automate it and cut the time by just 11 minutes each count. Doesn't sound like a lot. Now, you did that twice a week. And the average salary was roughly $32,000 per person was counted. A couple cents every single count you saved. Now, when it comes to perspective and scale, there were over 678 schools that did this twice a week. And when you multiply that by time, right, so we'll say 10 years, it ended up saving the company over $5 million. I used scientific method, didn't realize I was using scientific method. Engineering operations, I had no idea I was actually doing what was called engineering. Anyway, and I was enjoying myself solving problems. From there, I started working at other restaurants, trying to work my way up. So one day, I just decided that, now, I didn't really decide. A few years ago, probably 7 years ago, my mother passed away. And in that, I saw something amazing again. I didn't know how many people my mother actually knew. And over 4,000 people showed up at her funeral. And she dedicated her life to helping others. And so, in that clarity, once again, I decided to do the same thing, and that's really where Catalyst started. Was I had this event that changed my life in using the scientific method. I wanted to continue to pursue it, but I also wanted to help people at the same time. So I went to engineering school, pretty well there. Found that I had a little talent with 3D printing. Anybody have a talent that they have? What's your talent? Trumpet? Piano? What about you? What's your talent? Pondering? Yeah. Clarinet? Drawing? Being creative in your talent? But I kind of use my talent. Okay? And no longer did I just start, helping other people. I started saving people's lives and didn't realize it too. You guys have all heard guys in the medical center, right? We had this crazy idea. You ever see a CT scan? You know when you get an X-ray, right? And what's happening is we're shooting photons at an object heating inside, essentially. And if we do that 40 to 50,000 times, similar to what a CT scan or an MRI would do. Now, how the doctor or the technicians would see that is through a computer. take that data and display it on a computer, move it around. You can see a three-dimensional version of your bone when it's broken, or your heart as it's working. Pretty cool. The problem is there's a limitation of what we can see because the computer itself is limited. It may not actually be able to display all the detail that's actually there. And that ended up being the case with our first trial. When we 3D printed the object versus what we saw in the MRI, we actually found out that the gentleman had calcium deposits on his heart. It was causing it to shut down, stop working. And so they actually were able to see this on a 3D print, practice the surgery, then did the surgery, and then ended up saving the gentleman's life. They now do this for very complex aneurysms regularly. It was really cool. I got to participate in that. You guys like big guns and stuff like that? Yeah, big guns. Mortar rounds, tanks. So I got to use 3D printing there too. It's kind of a weird thing to think. You know, when it's plastic, we actually use metal here. But what we did was we tried to get a problem. There's, you guys familiar with potential energy at all? Kinetic energy, potential energy, potential energy, kinetic energy. All right. So when we fire a mortar round, our optimal goal, or the plutonic ideal, if you will, is complete and utter transfer of that energy, right? In reality, that's not even close to possible. Right, in an ideal way. That's math versus real world. So what we did was we actually were able to design it differently because 3D printing can do things that other machinery just couldn't. A lot of you guys actually got to see that in the classes already, right? And so we were actually able to get it 92% efficient. It's pretty cool. Increasing distance, range. So I kind of ended up in Catalyst Space now. I've actually started Catalyst Space, which is a nonprofit organization. 3D printers, scanners, laser beams going everywhere. Cut wood, program, make circuits, make rockets if you want. We create our own devices already, and it's open to the public. And so it takes machinery. It's about $200,000, and it is now affordable to the average home. That's pretty cool. That means that you get to sit there and work on the same machinery that NASA works with. Your face cracking up. And in all this struggle, I always had a hard time with education. Who here is not really good at school? It's okay to be honest. Yeah, I wasn't either. I wasn't at all. In fact, I had to go to summer school twice just to pass high school. And so, because it's kind of personal to me, I sought out, and after next week, it should be finally official. I get to start another company, which asks a very interesting question. What is learning? Anybody want to give me a definition? Try. It's weird, right? We use that word a lot. A lot. Every day. Yes.
It's how your brain retains the information you learn during the day from your experiencing things.
Okay. Then why is it that some things you remember and some things you don't? Some things are more important. Yeah.
Some things may be rare significance.
Okay. Yeah, I completely agree. So what defines their significance? how you as a person feel about them? Could the color that we're experiencing a single object play a role? Yeah? Anybody else think no? If I'm going to tell someone to stop, do I actually need to write the words, or can I just show the color red? But no one had to tell me that, did they? I didn't have to learn that in class. Does that work? Anybody ever open a door and we've opened thousands of doors, right? Nobody's not opened the door. That'd be weird. What's that? Your door just opens automatically? Do you live in Walmart?
Yeah.
Okay, so has anybody gone to open the door and the door doesn't open?
Yeah.
That's weird, right?
Maybe someone it's locked, maybe.
Or it's a push door when you try. It's a push door when you try to pull it open.
Perfect. That's exactly what I was getting at. So there's this thing that occurs. Well, it's a design. So there was a gentleman who worked for Apple, right? And last name is Norman. He came up with this thing called the Norman door. And that is that I open so many doors that have handles. Handle automatically, without ever being told, I automatically know that that's pulled. But what if I just put a metal plate? It signifies push. But what if the door needs to be pulled and I put a push plate? What do people do? They still try to push it. And so we call that pull into something that's poorly designed, right? But my question is, what does the individual do when they can no longer get through the door? Yeah. Two handles on the door? What's that? Get a big magnet? So those are all solutions. How do you get this? Just frame. Okay. So that's kind of like, that's a really tough question. Yeah.
Learning relationships, associations you have, experiences you have. So if you push it in one way, most of us will try to pull it. We'll find another way to do it. If one way doesn't work, we'll try another way.
Yep. It's perfect. So what I learned in this question was that there are actually two different states of learning and thinking at the exact same time. Yeah. It does. Right? So right now, us in this experience, we are in conscious processing. Our brain is processing the information in our conscious reality. However, at the exact same time, our subconscious is actually processing. Now, the difference is your subconscious actually processes information that you already experience. And it associates that information with what you're experiencing now. And to me, that's kind of really cool. So the second part of that question then, in understanding what is learning, is then how does it work? Like, is there a specific process to this? What happens with the body? And what I found out is it explains a lot, actually. Anyway, this was a big question of why the brain is all weird, right? Where's my engineers at? So, if I have too much heat coming off of an object, how do I get rid of that heat?
You have to be.
Yeah.
Well, you can pull it, let it radiate, let it conduct into the air.
Can I do that by increasing the surface area? Can I do that by increasing the surface area? Can I do that by increasing the overall surface area of the object?
You're better off increasing.
Like a heat sink.
Yeah, you're better off increasing the
Right? Over millions and millions of years, thousands of years ago, whatever, it actually has created this sink system. Could that be possible? Anybody familiar with how electricity works? You do? So how's it work? You're like, crap, call me out. Battery? Switches? Yes, those are all yes. By windmill? We can generate electricity. Turbine? So it's, you guys know what an electron is, right? Okay, so we have a wire. Let's might use here for a big vision first. This will work. So let's pretend, use our imagination land, that this is a piece of wire. You guys all see it as a piece of wire here? Nope. Walking with wire, man. All right. So let's say that I'm making electricity flow from this end to this end. What's occurring is that there are a lot of electrons flowing through there at an extraordinarily fast rate. Now, energy can't be created, right? And it can't be destroyed. And what happens is every single piece of material is a little bit, or object is a little bit different for these electrons that flow through it. And the harder it is for it to flow through, you can see thermal. You guys ever have electric stove in the house? It gets real red hot. That's actually what's occurring right there. Because the material is so dense, it's really hard. Okay? So inside the brain, there are these little things called neurosynapses bonds. They're like little wires and circuits inside our brain. They have that same effect. It's called impedance. Frictional resistance material. I don't want to get too much into that. And so we need to expel that heat. And it's kind of weird because that also ends up telling us that that's probably why the brains, or our head's so hot. Right? You guys ever hear that? The head's the hottest part of the body. Gives you a thermal scan of that. You an overload right now? There's a lot of information. What I'm getting at is that I identify myself as a person, not based off of the emotions that I have, the stress in my life, but how I look and ask to not ask for information on different objects. And that's really what science is. And it all boils down to it. Science is curiosity, asking a question. Technology, mathematics, in many ways are just the tools that we use to do that. Engineering and art are the applications of it. So I'm not some super scientist or anything like that, crazy person. I'm just a guy who really likes science. And at the end of the day, I think that is the most important thing to understand about science. You don't have to be a scientist to use it. You don't have to be an engineer. You don't have to go to school for 26 years, be great at it. You just have to be curious and willing to understand the things that you normally don't. You can't be ignorant. So the other part of this is I wanted to do one other thing. I wanted you guys to ask questions. So, anything, right? Stuff you didn't understand in school, stuff you whatever. Very, very few times do we actually be able to ask the questions that we have inside our head without feeling, I don't know, like a dumb question or something. So, how about it? Yeah. What is the meaning of life? 42? Is that the answer? Oh, thank you. That is a profound question. Have you ever looked up anything on that? Yeah? Anybody else ever looked up? Yeah.
What happens after we die?
Oh, well, guess we won't know until that occurs, huh? Your life's kind of cool. You know that there's an entire society, or an entire profession built around that? It's called existential philosophy. Read Schopenhauer. It's quite interesting. And so is Nietzsche. So Schopenhauer, I know some of you guys aren't into this, that's okay. Schopenhauer says that the world is two different things at one time. Kind of weird. No, not all at the time. Existing in the exact same moment. It is as will and as representation. So, right now, what we see the world as is merely a representation of what we believe, right? And so that means that each person, every single one here, has a different world that they live in. But at the same time, the world is just the world. Like, it doesn't matter what. You're totally lost right now, aren't you? It's a big question. Yeah.
That's sort of like what you just said there. Is that sort of like, do you know anything about thought reality?
Yeah. Yeah. I actually can't hear you at all. What's that? Right? Yeah. Why did the dinosaurs go extinct? How? Well, I am not a historian by any means, but which time? So there were a couple of times actually that occurred. I don't know the exact answer. I would say it's us people, right? Have you actually taken it upon yourself? Yeah? We find out. Why don't you tell us? Okay. Pretty interesting. So, out of curiosity, how do you think I feel like you've already asked a good question. I think you're beyond. That's a good thing. What other question?
I have one.
Yeah.
Did you ever have the sensation that that particular moment that you've been there, you've done that before?
Deja vu.
And it's just bam, and you're like, oh, I know this.
Deja
What
vu.
is that? I've heard different opinions on what that is.
I don't know that there's a real answer. There's a couple of different theories. One is that it lies in pre-existing information, which I find to be the most
So it
valid.
feels in your brain.
Yeah, so it's not that you actually
Not
had
a
that.
orbit.
It's not that you actually had that experience, but it's that you've had multiple experiences that have essentially created these data points within your brain that become so similar to what is occurring at that moment. But I mean, that's one of those things you can't, like, that's why you ask the hard questions to try to find them. That's what science is.
JW has happened to me a lot before.
Yeah.
But usually for some reason it always occurs like I have a dream, like a week later it happens.
The ones that we lecture end up there.
That's crazy, and I'm gonna go over there. No. So what else? Is there something in school that you don't understand and you have questions about?
Everything.
Everything.
Yes.
Especially like science. I have no idea. That's a simple way to put it. So you guys are all straight A students. Almost as it is.
If he'll explain how.
Yeah,
So what'd you get hung up on?
I'm going to give him a couple more minutes.
We're
And
not all
then
straight A students. What'd you get hung up on?
Science.
Science. All right, let's start asking questions. Just science. What do you struggle with in science? What's like one specific thing, or is it just so overwhelming? Is that what it is? It's just overwhelming? It's intimidating? Or you just don't like it? That's one of the things I love about science. It doesn't care. It really doesn't. It is going to exist whether you want it to or not. Whether you choose to enjoy or participate in it or not, it will always exist. It's yeah, sure.
So I never had this.
You're probably a good thing.
Yeah. But I mean, you were older, so you said you were the best.
Yeah.
Looking back now, do you have any advice for these students that if you could do it again, you might do differently to help yourself?
Absolutely. I think that if I knew what I knew now, I would have definitely, I don't know that I'd paid more. I don't know that I'd still done the homework, I'll be honest with you.
Do you find it that
I would have listened and asked more questions.
do you think that the education is more worthwhile looking back than you did as a student?
Absolutely.
It's more valuable.
Absolutely. I will say that it's not that the information was never valued. It's the way that the information is delivered is what I struggle with. And it's nothing super fancy, right? It's delivered in a manner that's just in case. And my world doesn't live just in case. Nobody's world lives just in case. It lives just in time. Right? I would remember absolutely everything about school and the information had it been delivered when I needed it, not when I was hoping to be prepared for it. Does that make sense? Right? Like, I'm designing an object with a 3D printer, and it breaks. Right? The part itself breaks when it's trying to use it. That's when you think about stress. Right? Not the stress that, you have the stress of mom is but stress of, that's when I want to learn about plastic deformation and how this modules. I don't really care about it right after one chapter I've been hanging out with my friends. I care about it when it prevents me from doing the thing I am creating. I really think that was the ultimate problem with it. I mean, I wish I would have paid more attention. I wish I would have got better grades. It definitely leveraged the intellectual a little better. But I'm not against the outcome. I'm just trying to be honest.
Yeah, I'm just like, you've been there, you've done
Yeah.
that,
I have been there. I have done that. I've not done homework, sitting there listening to really sad music and everything else.
You're saying like the teachers need to, I mean, what you're trying to say, is teachers need to present it in a way that we do.
It's not so much.
But I mean, in the same sense, as students who try to find a way to find meaning.
Yes. That's actually a really good point. As students, as people, if there is one thing I would really recommend, stop waiting for the answer to be given. It is not your teacher's job to find the answer for you. It is not your parents' job to find it. You literally have, that's really cool. I should have did that earlier. You literally have a supercomputer in your butt pocket. Right? I can access the entire world's information from my butt cheek.
And you can
And
love
then
that.
I get mad at other people when they can't give me an answer. How ridiculous is that?
Next time you ask Miss Rock a question and I tell you to find the answer.
Right? Like, there are literally websites that are completely designed for you to find stuff out. It's called Google, and you all already use it. So if you have a question, go for it. Find out the answer. The second part of that is make it a reality. Don't wait for someone to say it's okay for you to do it. Just make it a reality. I mean, the phone's not going to be perfect.
I would like to add that just because you see it on Facebook does not mean it's real.
If you are using Facebook as a credible source of information, we failed you. All of us. Teachers, faculty, all of humanity has failed you. If you're using Facebook as a credible source.
Andrew, 2 more minutes?
Yeah. The other thing maybe that we should talk about as well is not just the reference sources, the Google and the Facebook, is that how many of us define who we are based on how we're brought up? Right? We're really good at making excuses for ourselves, aren't we? Right? It'd be a weird thing to hear, but I wish someone would have told me this. The world doesn't care. That's the reality. Right? It's upon you. Your work ethic, your talent, your utilization, your ability. The world just doesn't care about your emotions. And I think that that's actually a really good thing to keep in leverage that.